I don't know about you, but I work really well under a tight deadline. So a couple of months ago I was preparing my first exhibition and I was really short on time, so I decided to make this dress in a weekend. A blouse, Swiss waist and a skirt in just 48 hours. So let's see if I can do it. I started Saturday morning by picking up the fabrics. Muslin for the blouse lining, cotton for the blouse, black taffeta for the Swiss waist, black cotton for the lining of the Swiss waist, and polyester fabric for the skirt. Yes, I know it's not historically accurate, but I didn't have anything else. I started with cutting the pattern for the Swiss waist. I self-drafted this pattern as well as the blouse, but I didn't make a mock-up, which was a mistake. Please don't be like me and always make a mock-up. I cut taffeta and cotton layers at the same time, and I cut bias tapes from the taffeta. Then I cut the pattern for the blouse from lightweight cotton. This skewed shape at the top is the half of a sleeve. I cut the pieces off and then pinned and cut another sleeve. I use washers as pattern weights. I think it's probably the cheapest alternative to the real thing. Then it was time to work on the lining. I decided to make one that's built in, like on this picture. This dot is so wide because I have really low waist to bust ratio. I could transform this dot to two smaller ones, but I just couldn't be bothered. Last minute I added the short sleeves, since I absolutely forgot to draft them earlier. Again, I cut all the parts and then cut some more strips for the waistband and cuffs. I cut 3 rectangular pieces for the skirt and another 2 strips of fabric for the waistband and the placket for the back opening. I put my corset, hoop skirt and petticoat on my trusty dress form. You can see how I made it in my previous video. Then I checked the length of my skirt piece and realized that it was a bit too short at the back, so I decided to add some fabric at the top later. Finally, it was time to sew. I started with the skirt just because I wanted to get it out of the way. I sewed together the waistband and stitched the 3 panels and the placket together as well. I turned the waistband right side out and pressed it flat. Then I pressed open all the seams on the skirt. I cut long strips of muslin to add to the top part of the skirt, stitched them to the top, press the seams open, and press it to the wrong side. Then I needed to cartridge pleat 4.5 meters of fabric, and I did it using the laziest method one could ever come up with. Let me show it to you. You will need a double needle size 6. Insert it, but don't thread it. Use a bigger stitch length and just go all the way around the top of your skirt. Then you'll get these 2 even rows of holes that are at the same distance from each other. Now you can just make your stitches at each mark, or at every other mark, like I'm doing here. Weave in and out of the fabric. Repeat it for the other row and then gather both of them at the same time. then stitch every pleat to the waistband. I was quite happy with how my skirt looked, so I decided to put it aside for now and start working on the Swiss waist. I sewed the main piece and lining together at both center backs and turned it right side out. I stitched the boning channels, 2 for the center back, 2 for each side and 2 for the center front. Here you can see how it looked. Then I set the eyelets. I have this old giant hammer that I always use for that. And I inserted the boning in the channels. Oh, and before that I sewed the bias tape to the top of the waist, but for some reason I didn't film it. I sewed the bias tape to the bottom and then I hand stitched the other side of the bias tape to the lining. After that it was more or less done, so I laced it and moved on to the blouse. I started with sewing the dots on the front of the lining, and then added the lace to the neckline and sleeves hem. I then stitched together the blouse and the lining on the side and shoulder seams. And then I kinda forgot to film anything until the next day. I don't know how it happened, I really don't. But I did set the sleeves, gather the waist and prepare the blouse for the first fitting. Basically it looks pretty good, although the sleeves could be a bit longer. And that's when I regretted not making a mock-up. Then I sewed the waistband and hand stitched it to the lining. I made the front placket and hand stitched the buttonholes, all 13 of them. And then I found out that I forgot to make the pattern for the collar. So I just drafted one in a couple of minutes, added some lace and sewed it in place. And with that, the blouse was done. I went to the skirt to add closures at the waist, which is not my favorite part, to be honest, but then I noticed something. I forgot to hem it. So it's 2 AM and I have 4.5 meters of fabric that I needed to hem. Oh well. I sewed the bias tape to the hem and then whip stitched to the wrong side. By the time I was done, it was 4 AM and the sun was about to set. Well, at least I didn't have to use artificial lights to show the end result on my dress form. I'm quite happy with it, although if I tried it again, I would make a couple of things different. Now let's finally see how this ensemble looks on a living human being, or in this case, me. Thank you for staying with me till the very end, and I'll see you when I see you.